call this meeting to order. This meeting has been posted in compliance with the open meeting law. All members are present. A quorum is present. Okay, great. So, shall I just hand it over, or how do we do this? I feel weird. Yeah, here, you take over. Very good.
Where are we?
Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, yeah.
I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So now it's public comment. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. Members of the public may participate at the meeting without being present. If folks would like to call in, the number is 702-589-9629. In the meantime, is there anyone in the audience? Oh, that's Courtney. Okay. Seeing that there are no comments, let's move on to agenda item number 1.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
Do I have
I'll
a
second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed. Agenda item number 2, for possible action, recommendation to the City Council on an application for a residential historic preservation grant for 424 Avenue B.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. Michael Mays, Community Development Director. So you have before you an application for 424 Avenue B. The homeowners are interested in replacing the windows at their property. They're eligible to receive up to $10,000 in reimbursable expenses for this project. In order for them to be eligible, they have to meet the grant guidelines, which were recommended by the commission and adopted by the city council. In your packet, you have an analysis done by Courtney Mooney with Northwind regarding the applicability of the application to the grant guidelines as well as Secretary of Interior standards. And Courtney is here to answer any questions you may have.
You guys have any questions?
Nope.
Well, looking at everything that was presented here to us, I mean, looks basically it's got a nod of approval from Northwind that everything is good to go. There doesn't appear to be any questions. You know, we just, all the questions are answered, and, I mean, it's just, that's all I really have to say on it. There isn't much else to say.
Courtney, your analysis was very good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. This, I guess just for the record, I wanted to just clarify that the screened-in porch is not historic, and therefore the windows on there are not historic. So to replace them with non-historic windows is perfectly appropriate and meets the Secretary of Interior standards. And the reason I bring this up is just because there's a lot of homes in Boulder City that have their porches screened in. So I guess, is there a commonality to what windows should go into non-historic screened porches? Or a typical? And do you think this will be addressed in the new guidelines that we're working on?
Yes, Courtney Mooney for the record with Northwind. So the first question, just to make sure I understand the question, is from our field observations, what is common as an infill for the screen porches? I would say there is a pretty good variety. There are quite a few of the like aluminum kind of sliding type windows. There are the sash type windows, the 1/1 or 6/1 or 2/1. There's a variety in the divided lights pattern. But what we seem to have observed, and also from looking at the 1983 photographs from that survey, is that they were typically infilled with the sash type of windows, and again with varying types of light patterns. So, but we don't know, as I mentioned when we spoke on the phone, we don't know because we didn't do all the permit research for the entire survey when those windows were put in. And of course, with every application that I review, I always do a permit review just to kind of get a sense of, what may have happened. And I've never really come across permits for this type of thing. I think a lot of it was sort of done, under the radar. Mm-hmm. But that's what we see the most of. And it's kind of a, ultimately, of course, what we'd love to see is just the screens put back in. But most people have converted those into, living spaces at this point, mm-hmm. Because the houses were built, they were so small when they were constructed.
So if somebody wants to replace their windows for these types of grant requests or maybe for another project, they should continue to reach out to the city or you or the committee to say, hey, which window should I use on my screened-in porch that is non-historic? And we'll just work it from there, unless the guidelines will maybe help elaborate or identify that, maybe not the first version, but maybe another version down the road. I don't know.
The guidelines do say what was original and how kind of the pattern of openings exist. Mm-hmm. And I think that is really the key, because since most of these have been enclosed and people are going to want to, put the windows in or change out windows as the properties age, I think it's appropriate to replace those openings with windows. And I think there might be a couple of different ways depending on budget, et cetera. But, I think maybe ideally like a single pane casement type of window would be the best, mm-hmm. because it's just, there's nothing in there. Followed by perhaps a 1/1 kind of sash window. So again, there's very few sort of muntins or mullions getting in the way. But we have also seen homes that we think in the period of significance have installed the same windows that were all over their house, which is the 6/1s. And, I think that's appropriate too. But again, not everything is black and white, and we have to try to, the permit history is really helpful sometimes, or just, speaking to the property owner, or if we can find historic images would be great. And everything we try to work at it from that angle.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is great. I appreciate your analysis and description, and looks great. Look forward to more window replacement projects, because I think it's pretty common activity that people are doing on their homes, so we'll probably get more.
And that's an expensive thing too, to do the windows, so this is a wonderful thing to have this grant available,
Yeah.
for them. So,
And I think we've been lucky with a couple of folks that really, want to meet the standards and have been
Right.
grateful to, work with the commission and the city. And before I wrap up, I just wanted to say thank you, Chair Davenport, for your comments on the form. And I think, it's probably an organic thing. We'll keep trying to improve it. But this is the format that I hope to submit for each application. And I will add a couple of things that Chair Davenport suggested, and you guys are welcome to email me with other recommendations if you feel like there's something missing.
This is great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney.
So Chair Davenport, what we're looking for is a recommendation by the commission that the application complies with the approved grant guidelines and design standards and Secretary of Interior standards.
Let's see, I make a recommendation that the city council approve, or, do I?
No,
Pass
it would be a
them?
motion that the application does meet
Gotcha.
the Secretary of Interior standards, design guidelines, and the overall grant guidelines.
I make a motion that the project as submitted for 424 Avenue B meets the Secretary of Interior standards, as well as the grant, Historic Preservation Grant Program guidelines.
I'll second that motion.
Do I, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Item number 3, for possible action, discussion regarding next steps with the historic water filtration plant.
I did want to let the commission know, and a couple of you were there last night, that the city council did approve the CCCHP agreement for $200,000 from the state that will help with the preservation of the historic water filtration plant. So next steps with that approval is that the agreement has to be executed by the state before we can begin any work. And per the agreement, the city must complete all the work by next spring. As noted in the discussion last night before the city council, we have $500,000. $200,000 will be reimbursable by the state. $300,000 budgeted from RDA funds. And the focus is for abatement of asbestos and lead-based paint on the interior of the building, as well as restoration and tuck pointing of the brickwork. And if funds allow, then we would also look at restoration of the windows. But we're still waiting to hear back on the cost estimates for the abatement to determine how much funds will remain available for all 3 of those areas. And so, I guess in terms of next steps, engagement with the community on what they would like to see with the historic water filtration plant, I think, is an important step. The council also is looking for commission input on that. And so this could be a discussion about how to facilitate that public engagement regarding how to use the property.
One of the things I noticed in the agreement was that the state would be providing a sign, I think, that should be posted at the work site.
Correct.
I was wondering if in addition to that, the city plans to give periodic updates of where the project is, maybe photo documentation on a, I don't know, weekly, bi-weekly basis, or some description, just so that folks know what's going on,
That's an excellent idea.
and just to keep people apprised of where we are. I don't know, it's not going to be pretty as far as,
Well,
and I know you're going to, it's mostly interior work, so nothing to see really, but maybe, I don't know, if they do decide to repoint the brick, that's kind of a cool looking activity to show, perhaps.
well, certainly we'll be reporting out to the commission the progress that's being made and any updates to the timeline. Probably a weekly progress report, there's not going to be much change, especially when you're working on abatement. But certainly we can keep the community informed on the progress with that project.
Do you foresee you have to just fence off the building or access to the site? I mean, I was just wondering about access to the gardens and,
Yeah.
or impacts to the sculpture garden or
It
anything like
shouldn't,
that.
it shouldn't impact access to either one of those areas.
That's good.
Anything else?
I was just to say, you know, I'm sure Michael will be able to give us at our monthly meeting here a rough outline, update of how the project is proceeding. 'Cause I assume you, throughout this whole process, you're probably gonna be in the loop of what's happening out there. Somewhere, you know, somebody's gonna let you know on, oh, hey, by the way, Michael, did you know we found this here and we have to fix this and it's gonna cost X amount of money? I assume you'd kind of be in that loop of information.
Correct, I'll be working closely with Public Works, which will be the lead on the project.
Yeah, so you'd be able to give us any pertinent update at our monthly meeting. I mean, if we put it on as a recurrent agenda item, for Michael to give us an update on that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it could be a separate agenda item, but as we have already included as part of just kind of general updates on what's going on within the district, it can be included as part of that too.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I just make sure
Yeah.
so that you have an opportunity to keep us informed, and then we'd have an opportunity to ask any questions. I know when we were out there on that tour, they were out there taking paint samples, et cetera, for, you know, lead base, you know, for lead in the paint and such. And I overheard one of the gentlemen that was talking, you know, working on that. He said something about they didn't seem to be too concerned about the possibility of asbestos in the building just because of the nature of the building. So I'm hoping that would be true, because that would keep the expense way down if they don't have to go through a massive asbestos abatement, because that's a spendy process. So, and the lead abatement is a spendy process too, but, so hopefully we save some money by not having too much asbestos in the building.
In addition, it'd be great to get updates on if any of the work will do any kind of adverse, have an adverse effect on any of the structure. If they, let's say, have to take down an entire wall or, you know, I don't know. I'm really particularly interested in the windows. And if there isn't enough money for the windows, it'd be great to know ahead of time so that then perhaps that's a request, a budget request to be made. And I don't know if that would be just through your office, or would it help if this, the commission would support that publicly? I don't know. But to me, the windows are a really important component and something that's super visual to the public. So it'd be nice to get that taken care of, or started at least.
Yeah, certainly. We'll keep you informed as to the determination on costs and what can be done with the $500,000 that is budgeted.
Thank you.
if I can, just on the windows, this is something that, a long time ago, thought process, in my brain or passed through my brain. But I had a thought, when a long time ago, when we were talking about what can we do with the building, how can we restore it, before the grant money was talked about, different people had conversations. And one idea I had, speaking right to Blair's concern about windows, is that, well, we find out how much windows are going to be, but then we have people would sponsor a replacement of a window, an individual couple or a business or something like that. Well, they could make a donation to the replacement of that window. A little tiny plaque on the bottom, this window is donated by XYZ. And that's one way we could get some additional funds. It's not a huge expense for, for one person to buy an individual window as compared to we're replacing all the windows. Might be one way of getting some money, get some community support. I would think it'd be a relatively easy thing to accomplish, a little notice out in the newspaper and then the flyer, hey, donate some money, get your name put on a window for the water filtration plant. I'm not sure exactly how it would be implemented, but I think it might be one way to get some community involvement and get a little extra money for the building, and something that needs to be done. Just a thought.
Would, again, with the windows, there's a kind of a variety, or at least two styles of panes in there. One is the wired style of window pane, and then there's this regular clear. Will you talk to Courtney or the contractor to determine if they can't find the wire type window pane? Is there an alternative? Would that meet Secretary of Interior standards? And it's actually not just the wire in plain glass, but there's some wire in textured glass, which I'm curious if that can be found. They're having a difficult time finding that for the Safety First building, which has the same style window. So just curious, when moving forward, how do you maintain that you're complying with the Secretary of Interior standards, I guess?
Well, certainly we will be fully utilizing Courtney and her expertise in guiding us. But in addition, the agreement requires that everything is submitted to SHPO for review as well.
Oh, okay. Everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to be submitting to them, all the proposed work. We have to provide for the agreement progress reports, and so.
So the contractor will actually specify which window they'll work on and what materials are required for all the windows, but if there's some anomalies or some weird windows, they'll address that.
Yeah, everything has to follow the Secretary of Interior standards.
But whether the contractor will follow the Secretary of Interior standards, that's the question.
Well, that's our obligation, that the
Right.
contractor has to follow that.
So who will make sure that they do that? Is that you and Courtney?
That will be, I will be working closely with Courtney on the materials that will be utilized so that we're complying with SHPO and the
Gotcha.
agreement.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else?
No, but I would just like to say thank you to the council for making a really great decision and supporting our efforts here on the commission.
Ditto. Here. All right. Moving on to agenda item 4, update on the implementation of the commission's goals and priorities.
So, as we do every month, we provide to the commission the status of the commission's goals and highlight in bold any changes. I can answer any questions.
I was curious about item 1.3, tentative review of the certificate of appropriateness. Is that in conjunction with a review of the latest draft of guidelines, design
Correct.
guidelines?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Moving along. Item number 5. Discussion update on the status of properties in the historic district or other potentially eligible properties.
Staff report was provided and can answer any questions.
Anything? Anybody have anything to add? No? Okay. All right. Final agenda item, number 6. Commission discussion regarding potential agenda items for upcoming Historic Preservation Commission meetings. Anybody have anything? All right.
Looks like we're gonna have our hands full with the water filtration plant.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so that, so now is our final comment period for the evening. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on a topic. Public may call 702-589-9629 to provide comment.
Nobody likes this, they never call.
Oh, come on, they left for the sun.
Seen phone calls or anything.
People are paying attention though. I get someone saying something now and then.
All right. No comments have come in. Meeting is adjourned.